So this summer I went down to Mexico and did a couple of cave dives. The first one was Cenote Cristalino. We actually did a traverse from Cristalino to Azul. And right here in the video you can see my guide is tying in our jump line to the main line. There was quite a bit of navigation going on in this cave. There's lines going all over the place to different cenotes. But he knew the route we needed to take, and here you can just see us tying in that jump line, and then here in a second you'll see him show me his cookie so that I can identify it. And we also did that before we went underwater. So we used team cookie practices basically here. So he's putting that cookie onto our exit line. We'll confirm. I'll give him the okay, and off we go. So there's a lot of particulates in the water column here. I think it was mostly an artifact of the lights in the camera. You really didn't see that too much when you were underwater. The water was basically crystal clear, great visibility. The first part here you can see there's quite a bit of breakdown and fairly wide open. And then as we get further in, you can see there's some tighter passages. There's nothing that anybody would consider a restriction. It was fairly open and fairly easy to navigate through without really having to touch anything. Now in this part of the cave, the bottom, you can kind of see changes. There's quite a bit more sediment there. Settled on the bottom, so you definitely wanted to make sure you stayed up off of that and didn't disturb it. But yeah, as I mentioned before, this was a traverse that we did from Cristalino to Azul. It took us about 45 minutes to get to Azul, where we could pop up and chat at that cenote, which we saw a few people diving and swimming around there, and then it took us about 45 minutes, about the same amount of time to come back. So there's no real current to speak of, so there wasn't really an upstream downstream going on here, at least that I can notice. Here's probably one of the most narrow spots that we saw in Cristalino. Definitely see that bottom there is quite silty, so you definitely wanted to stay off of that. I actually think I was trying to stay too high up, and I got hung up there just a tad on the top, which stopped my forward progress. Definitely didn't want to silt up our exit. So this is us going in towards Azul. So here in a minute, the video is going to switch, and we're actually going to see what our entry and exit was like in Cristalino. So this is Cenote Cristalino here. I just got us coming out of the cave, basically. There's some people swimming. You'll see them here in front of us, and then they were behind us. It's about 15 feet or so deep here. So we just stayed close to the bottom so they didn't jump on our heads. But it was pretty cool swim through with the light and the mangroves. Total depth, maximum depth we hit was about 35 feet. So it's a real easy one, easy on gas consumption, so easily doable on thirds. But you can see there's some ladders there on the upper right. There's a spot at the end of this where you can stage your tanks, and we just kind of climbed up the rocks to get in and out. It's fairly easy, and you can see my guide there is tidying up his long hose, getting ready for the exit. Highly recommend it. Great cave dive, great traverse. My first one. Really enjoyed it. So the second cave that we did was Cenote Minotauro. It wasn't very built up, but here's a map that I got off Cave Atlas, and you can see Cenote Minotauro down at the bottom. And we kind of did that red line that you see kind of in the screen there. It actually does make a circuit. We think we made it about 2/3 of the way around the circuit before turning. due to gas. But the entry to Minotauro, there's not really much there other than the hole. There's really nowhere for people to swim. We were actually the only people there that whole morning. We didn't see any other divers, any other swimmers. Nothing. It was just us and the people working there. The entry, the main line, you can see basically from open water. So there's no point in really even tying in a main line as you normally do. So we just descended right onto the main line and started the dive. The entry is quite a bit of breakdown. I didn't get a lot of it on video because it was fairly tight. But once you got in there, it opened up in places, and then in places like this, it was kind of some fun spots to pick your way through. But there's passages on your left and your right going all different directions. There was quite a bit more decoration in this cave than in Cristalino, which I definitely enjoyed. And then like here, you see it just kind of opens up quite a bit. And you'll notice that I am staying a little bit closer to my partner. That was one thing we talked about after the previous dive. Was staying a little bit closer to each other, and one on one side of the line, one on the other. So it was good feedback to hear. Really, the part we did, there was basically no navigation to do, and we didn't even run a main reel. So there was really just to jump in the water and follow the line on this dive. So this part here, I believe you called it the elevator shaft. So we kind of swimming along at a fixed depth, and then we basically have to drop about 10 feet or so to get to the next part of the cave. So it was just kind of swim up, do a descent, 10-15 feet, and then keep going. Maximum depth on this dive was 48 feet, is what my computer said. So a little bit deeper than Cristalino, but nothing crazy, not like we deal with in the Midwest. Cave depths there. You can see there's not as much of that particulate matter in the water column either in this cave. But definitely quite a bit more decorations to look at here. You'll notice I'm giving the OK sign there with my light. One of the things that they do in Mexico is every marker on the line, the lead diver shakes his light up and down 3 times, in a controlled, slow manner. And then he covers his light, and the divers behind them give him the OK, basically signaling that there's a marker on here. Do you see it? Yes, I see it. And then you continue on. You'll see he's doing it now. And I actually missed this one because I'm looking off to at something else, and he'll do it again, so that I confirm that I give him the OK. So there he is doing it again, and then I'll turn the camera light away a little bit, and that's me giving the OK that yes, I did see it. Usually they're not that close together. In some caves we've only done that maybe 2 or 3 times in a dive, but for some reason there was 2 pretty close together there. and it's the responsibility of the lead diver to basically point those out. So on the exit, it was my responsibility to give that signal and cover my light, and it gives the okay. So here it is one more time. 3 up and downs. I kind of move the video lights out of the way so you can see my primary light giving the signal. So you can see the arrow markers are still pointing behind us, so we're still on the circuit. We're still going into the cave, basically. We don't complete the circuit. We'll do that maybe the next time I get down there. It's a great trip. Highly recommend doing cenotes if you're not cave certified, and if you are cave certified, definitely get down to Mexico and hire a guide you trust and go see some of the beautiful things down there. Thanks for watching.